Mau biasanya pada balik ke kantor. Jadi kalau misalnya apa-apa
Ja, lustig.
baik.
Other languages if you want to, but I'm in French and Latin right now. But I can read it, and I would be fun to study it if it's possible.
Represents every one of the communities and nations here. Also represents the indigenous people, and the say of the world indigenous people need to be included, need to be heard.
Seems we have a very full house today, and we have in fact arranged for overflow in the concourse where there are also video monitors. It was 30 years this summer that Vancouver played host to Habitat, the first United Nations conference on human settlements. Today we gather once again in Vancouver for UN Habitat. Le monde a bien sûr beaucoup changé depuis 1972 et tout au long de la semaine, nous allons découvrir comment la croissance urbaine a affecté notre environnement, comment les partenariats sont devenus nécessaires, comment mieux aboutir à la cohésion sociale dans nos villes et nos communautés, comment transformer nos idées en action. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Commissioner of World Urban Forum 3, the Honourable Charles Kelly. Thank you. Global citizens, bienvenue au Canada, welcome to Canada. As host for this World Urban Forum, the third World Urban Forum, it's a special welcome to our partners from United Nations Habitat that we have worked so closely with over the past 2 years. On behalf of Canada, I want to offer a very special welcome also to the hundreds of organizations and the thousands of volunteers that have made this week possible. Yes, today marks the 30th anniversary of the first UN Conference on Human Settlements. The 1976 conference was indeed the birthplace of Habitat, but it was also a massive civil society engagement at Jericho Beach called the Habitat Forum. It was an opportunity where literally thousands of people from around the world had an opportunity to discuss ideas with each other about the future of the planet. It was a place where civil society was given a new respect. Young British Columbians, by the thousand, built gorgeous cedar cathedrals in the amphitheaters at Jericho Beach.
Du Forum urbain mondial, de la part du Vancouver, Conseil municipal de Vancouver, bienvenue à tous. I would like to first acknowledge the Coast Salish peoples for their welcome. Several months ago, I went to Ottawa to visit our Prime Minister, and I invited him to this special session. And I know the difficulty and the incredible difficulty of him making this time in his schedule, and I want to acknowledge him for putting cities first and for prioritizing what we're doing here. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. 30 years, Vancouver held the world's first urban forum. And that forum changed us so much. It made us think about ourselves differently. It made us talk about cities differently. And it made us make decisions that were different from most of the other cities in North America. Today, we are the only city in North America without a freeway running through it. And we are a city where we have an active and vibrant and healthy downtown where people both work and live. We have a city, a central area where every year the number of cars, private automobiles, that enter our city is decreasing. And today, in the downtown of Vancouver, of all the trips that are made, almost 70% are made on foot. A number of people have worked hard over the years to make this happen, and I want to acknowledge one of the more important who made some of these important decisions, and we have here our current Premier, the former Mayor of Vancouver, Gordon Campbell, and I thank you for the city that you have delegated to us. We've done a lot of things right in Vancouver, but we have a lot of work to do. We're very conscious that if everyone in the world lived like we do in Vancouver, it would take 4 planets to sustain us. We have to do better. Recently, I announced an initiative called Eco-Density, where I want to see all of the areas of Vancouver work to increase the densities so that we can decrease our ecological footprint. We need to live lighter on the earth, and at the same time make better, healthier, more interesting and beautiful neighborhoods. So many of our cities, Canadian cities, are sprawling in very, very expensive urban form. And it is now we're finding so much pressure on our finances to maintain this infrastructure. I think cities need to decide whether we want to pay for traditional infrastructure or we want to move to something different, what I'm calling eco-structure, where we decide we don't want to maintain sprawling asphalt, water lines, sewer mains. Instead, we want environmentally responsible infrastructure that makes beautiful and interesting public spaces with high quality neighborhoods, recreation, arts, culture facilities, where people want to live in the cities. Just as 30 years ago, the world's first urban forum profoundly affected our consciousness, I believe this World Urban Forum will change our destiny. I think what we're doing here over these next few days is so important to the health of our planet and the quality of life of all of our human beings that live on it. I urge you, work together. I want to learn so much from you, and I think Vancouver has something to share with the world. Let's work together to make this the best World Urban Forum. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Prime Minister, Mayor Sullivan. For those of you who are from around the world, you should know being mayor is a very important responsibility. In fact, they're so important in Canada that we call them your worship. So your worship, Mayor Sullivan, and to all of the delegates here today, let me say what a privilege it is to be here with you at the third World Urban Forum. I was in Vancouver in 1976 when we had the first forum. And this forum is about turning ideas into action. Taking the ideas that are spawned from conversation and dialogue that you will have over the next number of days and number of months and putting them to work for citizens all over the world. For the world is relentlessly urbanizing. More and more and more people are coming to our cities and our towns to look for a better future. And all of us know in this room that sometimes the futures they find are not as full of hope as they may be. But this session this week gives us a chance to rekindle the light of hope in the eyes of communities around the world by learning from one another, by teaching one another, and by sharing with one another. From Tokyo to Stockholm, from Manila to New Delhi, we face many challenges. But I think in a session like this week's, we should also recognize the progress that has been made, the new technologies that are available, and the new understandings that can strengthen our cities, our towns, around this great world. We all want our cities to be human and healthy and vital places for people to live. And we can make a difference. This forum can make a difference in people's lives, in citizens' lives in Africa, in Asia, in North America, in South America, in Europe, in all parts and all corners of this globe. Think back to 1976, 30 years ago. And as you enjoy this city and these urban surroundings today, I invite you to reflect on the fact that this place has been built, has been shaped by the environment that we live in. The mountains, the ocean, the rivers. And one of the things that 1976 called us all to do was to see the city that we lived in, the region that we lived in, with different eyes. And as we saw with different eyes, to open our minds and open our hearts to different solutions to the problems that plagued us. Today we are gathered on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people. When the first Europeans came to this place, the Coast Salish people said to them, "You are welcome. Come and be part of this place." And today, as we look to the future, it is that welcoming of cities that is so important for us to embrace. For every city is a place of not just people that are residents, but a place of strangers. A place that creates new opportunities for new dynamism and new life as we create living urban structures, as was mentioned earlier. Today you can leave this room and you can go to the water's edge. You can walk along the water to Burrard Inlet, around what we call Stanley Park, along the north shore of False Creek into the south shore of False Creek, along False Creek, all the way out to Spanish Banks and around the corner to the Fraser River. Miles and miles of waterfront walk, which is there because the citizens of this city demanded it. They demanded it of the development community, they demanded it of the city, and the city delivered it. Today, as you feast your eyes and enjoy the environment created by the great urban park known as Stanley Park, you should know that 30 years ago, that great new park called Pacific Spirit Park had not been created. Today, it sits as a sister park to Stanley Park. Today in our city, you can see construction taking place for over $2 billion worth of public transit. In 1976, there was no light rapid transit, rail transit, no SkyTrain in the Lower Mainland. Because we came together and said we had to move people, not cars. We have had great success in connecting our region, reducing the impact on the environment, and we continue to invest in that. And as Mayor Sullivan has reminded you, it is planning and thinking of what we want our cities to be like that allows us to create the communities we want to live in. Coming out of 1976, there was a vision for Vancouver. That vision called for a downtown where people would work, but also where people would live, where people would enjoy themselves, where people would learn and exchange cultural activities. And so at one point, in the 1980s, early 1990, we decided in our downtown that we would rezone it. We took 25 million square feet of potential office space and created it into a residential neighborhood, which you will now call Yaletown. As you visit Yaletown, you may applaud Yaletown. As you visit Yaletown, you will find urban shops, you will find a neighborhood, you will find community centers, you will find parks, you will find an urban place that people like to be. Because at the end of the day, our task is to create a place that people want to live. As we look back 30 years, I can tell you 30 years ago there was 5,000 hectares of property called Burns Bog, which was the lungs of the Lower Mainland, which was ripe for development, residential development, commercial development. People in this community said to governments, no, we want you to work together. We want you to protect that land. We want it to be there for future generation after future generation. And so today, Burns Bog is protected as a park because of the work of federal, provincial, regional, and local jurisdictions to save that important piece of our air quality and our water quality in the Lower Mainland. Sustainability is achievable, but it requires us to see the world with different eyes. And it requires us to recognize that what we may do today will make a difference, which we may not see immediately.
Let me thank the government and people of Canada for your generous offer to host this third session of the World Urban Forum. UN Habitat is proud to have this picturesque city of Vancouver.
Will discuss and share ideas about how to make our cities and communities better places to live. Cities around the world beat like drums, a hum of music. We need rhythm for the world to live together. I dream of a world that beats together in harmony.
Bos, kalau